everyone, and welcome to DD Radio episode, what is this, episode 4? 5?
I think we're on 5.
Whoa, man, we are climbing through the ranks. Welcome back to DD Radio. We are your hosts, Stanpai.
And Logan.
And today we're talking about American Gods. Continuing from our last section of the show, we talked about AFO and what's coming up there. Now we're going to talk about American Gods and some other cool things. So, Logan, go ahead and take it away, since you kind of brought this series to light for us in one of our previous episodes.
So, American Gods originally started as a novel, and it's by one of my favorite authors, Gaiman, who many of you might actually know for the Sandman series, because that was where he got his big start. It was in comics with Sandman. But American Gods is it's a bit different. It deals with similar themes. Clearly there's going to be gods in the mix because it's called American Gods. But it was considered an instant classic when it came out, and now they're adapting it into a TV shows. Stars is, and so we had planned to do this earlier. We were going to talk about the show, the first episode, and now they're up to 3. But I believe you're still on episode 1, right, Stan?
That's correct, yeah.
So for the sake of not spoiling anything for you or for the viewers who might not be caught up, we'll keep things to episode 1.
Sure. Just the brief intro to what is going on here. I can certainly say I love it already.
Oh, yeah.
It's freaking great.
I just don't grant wishes, bro.
You're skipping ahead.
Uh-oh.
Nah, that's not a spoiler, though.
It's not a spoiler, but you're skipping ahead.
I just don't grant wishes.
Man. Yeah, I gotta say something about shows that end up on Stars. The graphic content is it's no joke, both on a on a violence and on a sexual level. Stars kind of goes all out. You can get away with just about anything on that channel. So,
yeah. I feel like they gotta keep up with HBO.
Yeah.
In the Game of Thrones, so it's like Stars is trying to do some good shit now. It's like American Gods is great. It's compared to, I guess Zia can kind of go into like comparing the show with the book.
Yeah, how are they doing?
So,
because I know it got renewed for season 2, so I don't know how season 1 is either gonna finish the book in one season, or if it's gonna go into like, okay, first half of the book is season 1, and then second half of the book is season.
Well, if they do it like that, it might actually end up being 3 seasons. There's 3 parts in the book. There's a part 1, part 2, and part 3. But there's also a sequel to American Gods, which is Anansi Boys. So if they do wrap up the whole book in one season, then Anansi Boys could be season 2.
Because supposedly the news that I've read is like season 1 is going to be only 8 episodes, and I think you can agree with me on this, Logan. That it does deviate from the book. I mean, you've finished the book, and you've kind of like told me, and I haven't finished the book yet. Like, it seems like they're doing a different take. Like the sequencing is different compared to the book. And they're just kind of like adding, not like necessarily unnecessary. It's just they're adding more visual, artistic aspects to certain scenes and extending those scenes.
Yeah, so I'm all down for that really cool artistic flair they're going. Like, it's visually stunning. I love that. But there are some ways where, I'm kind of a purist when it comes to these things, where they're deviating and it just feels unnecessary. But then there's times when they deviate and it's kind of nice. Like, can't talk about that. That's the second episode. But there's times when they're breaking off from the main story, and it's either they're expounding on it too much compared to what it was in the book, where it's like a brief kind of interlude. Like, if you remember the scene with Bilquis,
it was kind of...
It's really short in the book, and it's pretty horrifying. But
it's also in the show. It's just kind of like, okay, we kind of get the point what you're doing and showing us, and it's like, move on with the plot.
Yeah, it goes on longer than it needs to when it's not main plot related. And they went for like a more like artistic, sensual thing.
Yeah,
no, it wasn't. I wouldn't even call it artistic. More like
more like shock value.
Let's appeal to this.
Not even that, because I would say the scene in the book, and this is one of the few times I would say it was more horrifying in the book than in the show, because usually the show goes like overboard with the violence and sexuality. Like, it's way over the top in the show compared to what the book is. I thought the book was fairly tame.
Yeah, because I think like the book for me, it made it over the top. Because like with the book, it's like you're using your own imagination to
It's
picture it out, that scene and everything like that. So for me, like compared to the show, that scene was kind of more tame. In the first episode, it was like very tame. I was like, okay, compared to in my mind where I'm just expecting like some kind of monster to swallow the person.
Yeah, but that is the one exception where I too thought, it was that scene with Bilquis was more tame in the show than in the book. But then there's other times where the show is like very, very gory. I'm sure you noticed already. And that's definitely not how I pictured it in the book. It didn't seem like it was written that way. I mean, of course, your imagination can do whatever it wants.
Sure. Which
is the beauty of reading a book. But for me, in that sense, it's very different. I also noticed Shadow's character is a lot more expressive here, which it takes away from how I pictured him in the book as the stoic kind of guy, but it also makes him more human.
Right.
Which makes sense for this medium.
Depth.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like, there are pluses and negatives to this. It's just kind of, it seems to me, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, there are people who read the book, so we kind of need to change things up. And there are people who haven't read the book, so we kind of need to add some shock value to certain things. And we're just going to, do more visually.
Right. Plus, we're on Stars, so let's make the most of our rating.
Exactly.
Yeah, people do like that kind of excessive shock, as you're saying. So I'm certainly not surprised. And you mentioned Game of Thrones. Yeah, people really love Game of Thrones. Part of it, the fact that it's just so no holds barred. And same with this. I mean, you see some extreme effects when he gets deleted. In the first, they talk about deletion. Like that whole bit was the effects were pretty expected, and just even the way that they did the transition of that character to kind of make himself known. It was just like, okay, they went with this this very pixely polygonal look. Just extra effects. They're kind of jarring, but they make sense. And I don't know. I really enjoy the premise. I feel like the acting is pretty on point. I really enjoy seeing the dynamic so far with the characters. I think
makes you want to learn coin tricks, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Sure does. Where'd that coin come from? But no, it's I think actually the actor who plays Shadow is going to be at SuperCon this year as well. So
he's at SuperCon.
Yeah. So that's coming later in the summer. And
that makes me want to go.
Yeah, right.
I really like the actor they picked for him.
Yeah, he seemed awesome.
Also, I'm excited for MegaCon too. Is that Daredevil? Charlie Cox is going to be there, and I love Daredevil on Netflix. That was good.
Just like Iron Fist. Right?
Oh, fuck that shit.
So yeah, American Gods. So far, what's your rating for it, guys?
I'd give it like good 7.5 out of 10.
Definitely worth picking up, right?
No, yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a whole bunch of garbage out there. Why would you?
Right, you got something good. Take the good thing. Awesome. How about you, Logan? What do you rate it at?
I'm going to give it a solid 8. Yeah. That might change in the future, but right now, I'm at an 8.
Yeah, I found myself pretty engrossed in that first episode, and I thought to myself, I'd keep watching this. At the time, there wasn't another one out yet. But I would also go with, for episode 1, I would say about an 8 is a fair score. It was
okay,
really
for
enjoyable.
episode 1, yeah, I would probably give it, like an 8 is a good score.
And
overall, right now,
7.5.
7.5.
All right, cool. So yeah, that's American Gods. So transitioning from there, Logan, you've got a topic for us as well. That's a little bit on the mystical side. So why don't you take it away?
All right. Since this has kind of been something me and Kay have been talking about lately, we're gonna go into oracles and kind of what they are. Since the way I see it, there's a I think people get a misconception about what they are. Basically, an oracle, you're probably familiar with a lot of them. Like think of tarot or runes or the I Ching. It's supposed to be something to help you read into yourself, into your present situation. They also call it divination, I think. And what people tend to think is that it's a way of reading the future, which is not the case. Like I said, it's about reading into your present situation using a symbol, and you take that meaning that's associated with that symbol and see what it means to you.
Sure.
Well, like for example, if you went to a fortune teller and had your palm read, they're gonna look at your lines. They're gonna tell you it means what, and a lot of times you'll walk away from that thinking like, oh wow, they're on point. Like it's like they knew me. but that's not it. They were giving you a very generalized set of, well, I guess you could say it's still symbols for the palm reading. But the thing is, you take that and internalize it, and from that, you learn something about yourself. Mm-hmm. So it's not phooey like some people would think, and it's also not, reading into the future. It's about reading into yourself. If you had a problem on your mind and they told you a fortune that kind of related to that problem, and you suddenly got the insight about how to solve it, that's what it was meant to be. That's what the oracle was for.
Logic
so it's
dive.
kind of like, to me, it's also like this kind of segues into all kinds of religion as well. It's just like to me, like, I believe, I don't hate on any religion, whatever you believe in and stuff like that. It's just that each person, regardless of whatever they believe in, it's just like their religion is kind of unique to them, because they're gonna find the answers within themselves through that religion. They're gonna apply that religion to the situation at hand. Whether it's like, okay, I need to read the Bible, I need to read the Quran or the Torah or whatever to find the answer to guide my life. It's kind of like you're applying that to your situation. So you already have the answer within yourself, but it's like you're getting this kind of like, you don't know the answer within yourself until you read that stuff.
Right.
Right. It's a matter of the conscious ego not really being good at reading what's deep down inside you. And when you use those oracles, you kind of get that message from the deeper part of your consciousness.
Right. Mm-hmm. I think this really does apply to anything. I think it's something that people could make great use of every day, regardless of what it is that they consume as media or spirituality or anything. You look at something like, if you read a book or watch a show at the right time, it has a huge impact on your life because you related something important. For me, I've said this before, like Fist of the North Star is this like powerful battle manga that's been around for decades, and I happened to read it after I had gone through a bad breakup, and I was tormented a little bit over the fact that I hadn't completely gotten over things, because I still cared about the person even though I ended it. It's not like I didn't care. I felt like it had to be done, and I kind of cursed myself. It's like, how could you? And then one of the characters, basically, despite how powerful he is unable to overcome his feelings of love. And for me, it was like this symbol of, this, no matter how strong you are, that doesn't mean that you're immune to this. And so that kind of tied it in for me. You never know what will be the thing that gives you influence. And, seeing a symbol and have just a slight general relationship between that and something going on in your life, that's all you need to really help you find your answer.
And the funny thing is like, that thing is usually unique for everyone too. Right. Like, for example, if you take a song, that song can have one meaning for you compared to another person. That means totally different to them. It's like, that song can mean something like, oh man, I had good times in my relationships whenever I heard this song.
Right. It's
the other person could be like, man, this reminds me of my bad times in my relationship. And the singer-songwriter could be like, man, I was fucked up when I was writing this shit.
Yeah. I've heard the same song multiple times, but at different times in my life. And Streetlight Manifesto is a band that I like to reference for this, because the lyrics tend to be pretty, allegorical or just narrative-driven, and they're loosely tied to common themes that happen in everyday life. And I remember, certain songs I never knew how much they tied into my life until I found a situation that was comparable, and then suddenly the song meant a lot more. And it also made me feel like, okay, maybe this is the right answer because someone else already wrote it down for me.
So that way, in a sense, it's kind of like oracles and religion itself.
Yes.
It's just that it's constantly kind of changing to your situation.
Absolutely.
And that situation, you already have the answer within yourself.
Right. You just have to awaken to it.
Absolutely. I mean, it was there's an author, I can't remember who it was, but they said that a book is like a mirror. What you find in it is what was already in yourself.
Right. That's absolutely. I think about even when things were happening between Memer and Gene and everybody else in the KG back in the day. Characters we were writing about in our own interactive fiction that we were participating in. I saw parallels about the way I had conducted my character. He was making decisions without asking people for what they wanted in the situation, and doing things as being a martyr. And that complex of I gotta take on the whole world, and no one else has to put up with the burdens. I realized sometimes I was doing that, and I got lectured by someone else in character, but it was like the person was talking to me in real life at the same time. And it was like, whoa, So yeah, thanks Finley. But yeah, it was a good time. Definitely, it's if you can survive those moments or take the time to really think about what things mean, even if they don't mean anything. We make science out of we have a tendency as humans throughout all years. All humanity has made signs and omens and this and that. But really, it's just a matter of what helps us as our little waypoint in our path of self-discovery.
Mm-hmm.
Right on.
Yeah, buddy.
So yeah, I think that about caps off our discussion about oracles. If you guys have any last-minute notes you want to toss in.
I'll toss something in. I think I encourage everyone to try something out, whether you prefer the Bible or the Torah or whatever. Try whatever book means the most to you or whatever thing, and randomly pick something out for the day. If you like the Bible, just open it up to a random page one day without looking. Put your finger on the page and then look what you're pointing at, and that's your oracle for the day. And see how it helps you. If you're having a hard time, just do that and see what kind of advice you get.
I know a couple of people that actually do that. Like they'll literally just like start flipping the pages randomly, like a whole bunch of pages, and all of a sudden just pointing the finger. It's like, okay, this is what applies to me today.
Yep.
Or to my situation.
Yeah. Yeah, and the more references you have of narrative, allegorical reference, the easier it is to draw upon them in times of struggle. Great examples, times of strife, times of joy, right? Just think of the comparison, put yourself in someone else's shoes, build empathy for a person that you know or someone that's fictional. But either way, the entire reason that plays were a part of ancient Greek culture was to establish a sense of empathy. In Euripides, his plays were to build empathy in the viewer for the different characters he wrote about, and also for general civic duty of the Greeks to be influenced to see this is how a proper Greek should behave, and to see these fictional scenarios play out. It kind of gave you the idea of what was expected culture. So it's that's still present true today, be it in fiction or anything people create. So there you have it.
For example, American Gods, man. Yeah. I mean, like this stuff really gonna be heavy in American Gods as well.
Oh, definitely. A lot of this ties into belief is a very powerful thing. If you think American Gods is deep so far, whether you've watched episode 1 or you watched up through episode 3, it gets really deep the further you go. If you're willing to see what it's trying to show you,
down the road.
And it's also just very entertaining.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think that about rounds out our discussion for this week. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in for yet another episode of DD Radio. We hope you've enjoyed it. As always, be sure to check out the other episodes if you've not done so, as you get to hear how our opinions have changed over time, what we cared about, what we thought, and, of course, just what it's like for us to hang out like a good old time. So, without further ado, thank you for listening. My name is the Manly Stanley Stanpai, joined by...
Okay. And make sure to catch us at AFO or MegaCon if you're there.
Absolutely. And, of course, rounding us off, we also have...
Logan.
Heck yeah. See you guys at AFO, and hopefully even sooner. All right, DD Radio.
Bye.